As part of our how-to series, we're going to look at how to manage symptoms when you know it is a mind-body issue but cannot take your mind off of the symptom, making it seem impossible to go away. Many of you will have heard me refer to something called attentional TMS, or attentional mind-body issues, which describes this experience. As always, knowing the nature of the problem is key to being able to choose an effective solution. In this video, I will help you identify which of two problems is leading to this conundrum, so that you know in which direction to go when choosing your action steps, and suggest some of the action steps that you can take to address either side of the experience. If you haven't already, click subscribe, ring the bell for notifications, hit like if you like what you're hearing, and put your comments below, and we'll get back to you personally. And finally, you can reserve your place in one of my seminars or purchase any of my mind-body guides, also known as the PDFs, at www.crushingdoubt.org. Now, without further ado, here is my commentary on attentional mind-body issues. Many of you will relate to this experience in some part of your mind-body work or with a particular symptom. You've recognized that you have a mind-body symptom and have done the doubt work to the point that you are 100% certain of it. You've done the emotional work and can't see where there would be any stone left to turn over to find the source of the symptom. You've even eradicated countless other symptoms, but this one just won't budge. Sound familiar? To many of you, unfortunately, it will. In this situation, what often occurs is that the sufferer comes to obsess about the symptom, because what else is there to do when all of your resources that are supposed to help do not help? In fact, those who don't obsess about the symptom go on an equally perilous route, sometimes having been recommended to do so by doctors or even experts in the mind-body community, in being told to just let it go or to stop working on it. I do want to be clear about one thing in noting the last thing. Sometimes it is a great action step to stop working so hard at it. Sometimes it is the working so hard at it that leads to obsession and only makes the symptom grow stronger. But at other times, this intervention does not help and in fact leads to despair, frustration, and depression because it seems like you just have to live with a symptom. If backing off of the work so that you don't obsess helps, then it is a good action step. If it leaves you feeling that you are doomed, it is absolutely not the way to go at that moment. I often encourage people that the key to choosing a good action step is to remember that we are moment-to-moment beings. What this means is that you are going to need different types of action steps at each different moment. I don't mean that you need thousands of action steps, because there are plenty of types of moments that repeat themselves and require the exact same intervention. In my experience, you are generally going to run into 15 to 20 typical situations in your mind-body experience that repeat themselves at the moments of greatest relevance. That means you only really need to have that many action steps at your disposal, generally speaking, to have your system within my system down pat. Sure, you are occasionally going to run into a new problem or have an old one manifest in a new way. But the good news, as I see it, is that each time you get an intervention that works for a part of your mind-body problem, you've made gains against the symptoms and are further along on your way to full recovery. Attentional mind-body symptoms describe the mind-body experience where the symptoms are perpetuated simply by the fact that we cannot stop thinking about them. Within my column structure, I always try to locate the column in which to work first. And this one is easy. This is the doubt column, without a doubt. It is all about the doubt that you can get your mind off of the symptom or that it can ever go away because you can't get your mind off of it. When you know that one column is the thrust of the matter, you can put the other columns aside for the time being. This moment calls for this one column and its type of work. Now recall that the doubt column has 3 levels of doubt. 1, is this structural to the body or is it a mind-body process? 2, even if I am certain it is a mind-body process, just how far can this be used to manage or eradicate my symptoms? And 3, is there anything about me or my symptom profile that will prevent me from getting better? Attentional mind-body issues have moved beyond level 1 doubt, but they tap into level 2 and 3 doubt quite a bit. At base, attentional mind-body issues are level 2 doubt. Since I can't seem to get these symptoms under control, and I already know unequivocally that they are mind-body issues, then maybe mind-body work just can't help with this type of symptom. That's why it's level 2 doubt. One of the most common experiences of attentional mind-body issues comes in the form of tinnitus. So many people experience this, and something about its profile does lend itself to the sense that we can't make it go away. Often, it is a very subtle ringing, but the fact that it is in our heads and can switch on and off on a dime, and does so, makes it very compelling as one of these issues that might be different than other mind-body symptoms. It isn't. It just has an advantage over other symptoms because it can come and go so much more convincingly and continue to confuse and confound. Sometimes this level 2 doubt, as you grapple with it, can convince you that there must be something specifically wrong with you. Once this happens, you've got level 3 doubt on top of it. So what do we do to conquer doubt? We articulate the doubt very specifically, we counter it with science and logic, and then we implement an action step that helps us use that science and logic on a moment-to-moment basis to conquer the symptom. But here is the thing about attentional TMS, or mind-body issues. Ultimately, we are going to need to forget about the symptom, to relax enough about it that we forget to have it. But how can you do that when you can't stop thinking about it? Well, to solve any problem, you need to understand it first. When you can't stop attending to a symptom, one of two problems is driving the ship, all within the structure of the doubt column and level 2 or 3 doubt. For many, the driving factor is obsessiveness itself, while for others, the principal force is fear. Once you've recognized this is attentional TMS, and once you see that you are working in the doubt column, it is time to articulate the specific doubt. In this case, that involves figuring out if you are having the symptom primarily because of obsession or because of doubt. This is incredibly crucial because the interventions are actually very different. So let's discuss how to distinguish between the two, and then we can discuss what you'll do about each. The way out, as always, is through questions. Did this all start because I tend to obsess about things in the first place, and this is just the latest manifestation? If you are the type of person who does tend to perseverate on things and can't stop thinking about other things, then obsessing about a symptom won't be much of a stretch. But this isn't sharp enough of a question or answer because the main question still looms. Is this happening because of fear or because I cannot get my mind off of the symptom? This is the question that can set you on the path to knowing what is going on and what to do about it. First, you have to assess whether fear is the driving factor. If, when you look at this, you realize that you are terrified that the symptom will not go away, fear is the main factor that needs to be addressed. If you find that you really aren't very afraid of that and believe it can go away, but your mind keeps drifting back to it anyways, then you are dealing with obsessional thinking more than fear. This is the critical distinction in attentional mind-body work. Are you filled with fear about whether the symptom will go away, or is your mind somehow just really interested in spending time thinking about the symptom? If your driving force is fear, this paradoxically alleviates a big part of your problem. The problem isn't that you can't get your mind off of the symptom and need to. You do not need to fight that fight anymore. The problem is that fear is leading you to obsess. Once we have found the source of the problem, the things that flow from that source do not need to be addressed. Only the source needs to be addressed to get rid of the symptoms. This certainty about the nature of the problem washes away the obsession, because obsession comes from doubt, confusion, questions, and fear. With obsession dispatched, now you can focus on the real problem before you, the fear. Once again, we have to start broad to understand where we are working, the column, the nature of the problem within that column, and then get to the specifics. In this case, the question is, what am I afraid of? This is not a rhetorical question where you're supposed to see that there is nothing to be afraid of. You are afraid of something with the symptom. The fear generally is, I am never going to be able to get rid of this symptom. But digging deeper, we must ask, why not? Here is where you begin to get your answers. If you are afraid that the symptoms won't go away because you think you are incapable, now we have the root of the problem, and your supposed incapability can be countered with all of your successes or the times you mastered other symptoms. If you're afraid that this symptom is different than others, then that is the fear that needs to be countered. If you are worried that no one knows how to help you and you can't, as a result, trust anyone to do so or any particular information, then that is the fear to counter. If it is many of these all at once, so be it. Counter each and every one at a time, so they can't band together to confuse you and lose the thread of understanding. We work to isolate the specific problem by getting more and more detailed in our understanding of where the problem comes from, so that confusion is mastered and the specific problem has nowhere to hide from science and logic. Fear is always to be countered with good information that makes you feel more in control with more options to help yourself. If your driving force, on the other hand, is obsessiveness, you are working with level 3 doubt. Maybe my mind just obsesses over things and it will never stop. Not true. Just because you have that tendency does not mean there's nothing you can do about it. In fact, Dr. Sarno gives one of the ways out of attentional TMS in recognizing that the symptom is a distraction from emotional life. One possible action step to get out of attending to the symptom obsessively is to understand its function and spend time on that instead. In my action step list, thinking emotionally is the one that comes to mind. I do not, though, mean that you have to now obsess about what emotion is causing it. I mean instead that by thinking of the symptom as an emotional expression, you can stop obsessing about it as a symptom alone. For example, when I have small or large bouts with tinnitus, which rarely last long in intensity but can hang on in the corners of my mind, I remember that one way out is to think about what emotion is driving it. Because tinnitus comes and goes very frequently, it is often an emotions column issue that then leads to a larger doubt column one. By returning to the emotions, I can take doubt's hold on me away and start to think about what I am feeling. Often, tinnitus comes up because I literally do not want to hear something that's coming next. In my line of work, this often relates to listening. So tinnitus can be there when I wake up in the morning, and I can get it to abate or lessen if I focus on a sort of primitive anger that can sometimes be there of not wanting to work. So just to sum this up, if fear is the driving factor, you need to deal with that fear directly, and that's doubt column work. If obsession is the driving factor, you can use either the emotions or power column to get out of that doubt area. I already talked about how to use it with emotions. Alternatively, I can use the power column as my escape from this form of doubt. Instead of trying to understand the symptom, which can drive you further into obsession if answers aren't coming clearly, I could choose a new, more compelling focus. My core narrative, who I am, what I need, and where I am going in my life. Suddenly, the symptom isn't at the center of things. I am. I've got things to do and places to be. By living in the power column, the obsession simply doesn't have center stage anymore, and it goes away. You may need to repeat the use of the emotions and/or power column to free yourself of the attentional doubt. But so what? It is moment to moment, and the more you do these things, the more you will train your brain to forget this symptom. Like a scene in a horror movie that keeps coming back to you, it will recede. It will pop up every now and again, but as it recedes, you will gain confidence that you've got it beat. Any way you look at any mind-body problem, attentional issues included, the system is the same and it works. Find the right column to work in, find the broad concept within that column that describes the problem, pinpoint the specific problem, and choose the action step that addresses that problem. I know it isn't easy, but it is that simple at the same time. Use the simplicity of the system to find clarity about the nature of the problem, and then work to find your solution with yourself, with me, with each other, or with any of my resources. The answer is always out there. This is the one assumption I do make. You make sense, this makes sense, and once you see how it does, you can do something about it. I really hope you enjoyed this episode on attentional mind-body issues and how to get your mind to release you from being stuck focusing on the symptoms. If you haven't already, click subscribe, ring the bell for notifications, hit like if you like what you're hearing, and put your comments below, and we'll get back to you personally.